So it's another night in the cabin. Today I'm recording on Halloween, and I came up here because, well, I came up here to sleep, but I also wanted to just like listen to some music really loud and have my daydream about being like a famous musician and pretend that I was at like a concert, Not like act it out, but just I like listening to music and just imagining that I was like a famous musician performing the songs at a concert. It's one of my copes, is just very vivid daydreaming. I'll actually make notes, like I'll construct an ideal life in my head, and then I'll write down notes that like remind me where I'm at. um so and I'll like make little playlists that are albums that in this like imaginary world are albums that I released that are just like a mishmash of different artists. And I was going to come up here and just do that, but then my speaker died, of course, because I can't have anything, and I forgot my charger because I'm retarded and I always forget shit. Like, it's so fucking annoying having such a terrible memory because it's like you're betraying yourself. Like, I always forget things. Without fail, I will forget something if I'm going somewhere, and I'll go through all my little checks. I'll go like, all right, phone, wallet, keys. Usually it's like phone, wallet, keys, chapstick, pen, AirPods, right? But then I'll forget something. Like, I'll go through the whole check and I'll forget something. Or even at work. Like, I don't know how I get what I need to get done because I'll think every day at work, I think I'm done, and then I get paranoid and I go, well, hold on, like let me go through everything, and I'll go through in my mind everything I need to do like 5 times and be like, no, I'm good. And then I'll just sort of start relaxing, and then all of a sudden I'll realize, oh shit, I forgot to do this really important thing. So I just have the worst memory in the world, and I'm always forgetting shit. And yeah, now I'm just like kind of sitting here. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was thinking about getting some sort of writing done, but honestly, I don't really feel like thinking that much right now. I'm tired. I've had such a stressful week. There's some stories, I guess, for this week. Just a couple. But I mean, mainly though, it's just because I had a busy school week and I was working, and I'm finally realizing like all the things I need to do for my job. I thought that the job was much more simple when I started, and even so, I thought it was complicated. But I started thinking I was getting the hang of it, and I was like, oh, this actually is pretty easy. But it's actually, I just wasn't doing everything I needed to do, And now that I am, it's actually way more complicated than I thought. Not that it's like super complicated. Like once I kind of get a couple months more at this place, then it'll be like nothing. But right now, I really have to like focus all the time. And so that with school, I was just kind of stressed out, and I always try to get everything done by Friday so I can enjoy my Friday night. And like I said, it's Halloween now, and that's on a Friday this year. And then, I try to do nothing on Saturday. And then, I mean, essentially it is kind of, school's not that busy because I do essentially get like 3 days where I don't have to work. So it's not that much of a workload. I mean, in my undergrad, I remember having to work like every single day for some periods and not have a single day off. And that sucked. But still, I'm just kind of sick of it. I'm sick of working. I'm sick of just always doing something I don't want to do. I'm very, very discontent with my life right now. And yeah, I can't imagine having to do this forever. I just would, like I said in one of my earlier videos, actually the one I uploaded today, I was talking about work and how I just can't imagine having to work a full-time job for my whole life. And yeah, I really couldn't fucking do it. I would just hate my life, and I hate my life right now, but that's just because I'm doing that. Like even with being like completely alone and, detached from other people and a loser, I still felt kind of content when I wasn't working and I could just write and read and fucking play games and daydream all day. I could make that work. But it's almost like now, because I'm working all the time, I don't want to think when I get out of work, and so it's like I'm looking for stimulus that isn't there, like I don't want to think, so I start going like, oh man, it'd be nice to like hang out with someone right now or have something to do that would, get me out of the house and like make me kind of, I don't know, it'd be nice to like have some fun with people. And then I'm like, well, I don't really have any friends or anything, so then I'll get sad, especially today on Halloween. I kept forgetting it was Halloween. And just seeing everyone like have fun and everything. And I was like, I'm really like Ebenezer Scrooge, because I see everybody getting all festive and everything, and I'm just like, oh, this sucks, And I remembered I was gonna order a pizza today, and then I remember, because I usually do that on Fridays, and then I was like, fuck, it's Halloween. And I remember working at pizza places, and it was always like the second busiest day was Halloween. The Super Bowl was the busiest. And so I was like, I'm not going to be able to get anything today. And yeah, it was just a stressful week. I had this kind of stressful thing happen where it was pretty crazy. So this guy comes in, and he was a client who I had seen before. And I was kind of annoyed with having to work with him because he was just kind of a pain in the ass. I don't want to like give too much detail because I don't want to give away what I do, just out of an abundance of caution, but just like the nature of like his circumstances, he was a pain in the ass to deal with. Like there was a lot of extra running back and forth to my supervisor to make sure I was doing the right thing, and it was just really annoying. And he was also very aggressive, kind of like, not necessarily aggressive with me, but I remember like part of my job I have to ask like, do you have any thoughts of like harming yourself or others? Like, have you ever had any serious thoughts of harming someone else? Have you ever had trouble controlling episodes of rage or violence? And every one of those questions, he was like, yeah. And he literally said, he's like, I'm a violent person. And I was like, oh, great. And then during the end of the appointment, he had realized that he lost his wallet, and he was getting really fed up with the appointment. And he was just like, when is this going to be over? When is this going to be over? And he started like pacing back and forth. And I was just thinking, am I going to have to like fucking choke this dude out? Like, is he going to attack me and I'm going to have to like choke his ass out? What if he like bites me or stabs me or something? And then, but he came back. I hadn't seen him in a couple weeks. And then he comes back. The lady at the front desk, she calls me up and she's like, oh, so-and-so is out here. And I was like, fuck, like he's there in person? Because usually they call. And she's like, yeah, he's looking for you. And I was like, fuck. So I go out and I see him, and he like needs a couple things that aren't hard to get. There's just like some things he needed me to do that weren't really hard. But in the middle of me seeing him in my office, he's like, dude, look at my finger. And his finger was all cut and like bloody. And I just kind of wasn't paying much attention to it. I was like, oh, it's crazy. Just because I was trying to get him out, so I was trying to just do whatever he needed. And then, I go out, make sure he's all good. I say goodbye to him, whatever. And then I get back into my office. Also, I had to have him sign something, so I handed him my pen, and he like had to move his bloody finger around it. And I was like, oh, I appreciate you not getting, or at least trying not to get blood on my pen. And I just threw it out right after because I'm just a hypochondriac anyway. But then afterward, I was sitting in my office and I realized, oh shit, like I remember doing his, because also part of my job is doing like, I have to ask like about everything about someone, like their mental health, their physical health, everything. And one of the things I realized when I got back in my office was that he was HIV positive. And I was like, there's no fucking way. Like, and this was also right after I got a call from my mom that there was like, that my grandfather was like dealing with some health issues. And I'm like not close with my mom. So even talking to my mom now is kind of like a stressful thing. So it was just like a triple whammy. Well, it was a double whammy with my mom calling me and then like my grandfather being sick. And then it was all of a sudden like this dude with AIDS is like literally walking around with a fucking bloody hand, touching everything in my office. And I'm like, holy fuck. You know? I was like, there's no fucking way. I'm like, it is just my fucking luck that I would like get AIDS while being a virgin and not having any tattoos and like never doing heroin, you know, like no dirty needles, no sex, just gets AIDS, right? But I like washed my hands and everything. I was careful. And I also looked it up, and like he wasn't bleeding still. It was like dried up blood. And I looked it up, and apparently AIDS doesn't survive outside of the body for very long at all. Like once it's outside of the body, it dies really quickly, and you can't get it from dried blood. So I was relieved after that, but I just remember being like, there's no fucking way. Like, of course. That's just my fucking luck, you know? But yeah. And I also had a weird thing happen yesterday. I was driving home, not not almost getting AIDS weird, but I was driving home, and my grandfather calls me. And so, like, not the grandfather who's sick, my grandfather who's down here in this town that I moved to, and he calls me, and he's just like, you know, I had to get my teeth cleaned today, and there was this dental assistant, this young dental assistant that was doing the work on me, and, you know, I don't know, I just asked her, like, are you married? And she said no. And I was like, oh, my grandson isn't married. Let me get your number. And he literally got this girl's number. And I'm like, dude, because this is like the fourth fucking time that they've tried to like match me up with someone. And I kind of hate it, you know? Because I just don't like people in my business like that. It might sound surprising because I have this channel, but like this channel, it is separate from my life, you know? I just don't like people fucking all in my business. Like, I don't like when people have ideas, you know, it like so much of my time is spent just dealing with other people's bad ideas. It's like, can't you just not have an idea? Can't you just like do your own thing and not like think about me? And like, you know, like, I don't know, the sentiment is good, but I'm like, dude, this isn't like, what are you doing? You know, you're going to match me up with someone, and then I just felt bad for her because I'm like, dude, she's probably like 22. And you asked her if she's married. Like, he thinks it's like the fucking 1950s. And I'm going to like go to the soda fountain with her and do the honky tonk and then fucking marry her after 2 weeks and then go to war. I'm just like, dude, she's probably freaked out. And so he gives me her number. And I'm just like, I don't even know what to do with this because on one hand, I don't want to like they're going to start thinking I'm gay soon, dude, because they're going to, like, I've already gotten that from my dad where he's like, you know, if you were gay, like, I wouldn't be, like, mad or anything. Just because, and I hate that logic because, I mean, one, I have kind of a gay voice, so I kind of understand why they would think that, but also, like, the main reason they think that is because I'm never around girls. Like, I never bring a girl home. I've never been in a relationship. But I'm like, that's stupid logic because men are more promiscuous. Gay guys are super promiscuous. So it would actually be easier for me to get laid if I was gay. And it's like, if you think I'd be ashamed to be open about that, then you're mistaken. Like, you don't know me, you know? And I'm just saying, like, my own personality. If I was actually gay, like, I would not care what someone thought about it, you know? I would just like be open about it. It's just that I'm a sub 5, and these older generations, they don't understand what it's like right now. You know, I feel like my grandpa's starting to get an inclination of it because I remember he was like, so like, where do you even meet girls nowadays? Like, where do young guys meet girls? And I'm like, nowhere. He's like, what, just online? And I was like, I technically, I guess. I didn't want to explain like polyamory to him and go, well, you know, it's only really the chads. Do you know what a chad is? You know, I didn't want to do all that. So I was just like, yeah, technically, I guess online. But then I was like, you know, that's mostly hookups though. No one really wants a relationship. But he doesn't understand how things work now. And I just wish he'd stay out of my business in that regard. You know, it's like, I don't need you to play matchmaker. And I just felt weird about it. And I was like, I don't know, like, I don't want to, I knew nothing was going to come of it. And also, it's like, I I don't want to be naive. I don't want to be a sucker. I don't want to text a girl and set up a fucking blind date. And it's funny, I'm like a fucking detective. Like, I found out what she looked like because I'm like, I can find anything online. I'm like an actual fucking, like, I could dox someone. I would never do that, but I'm just like a fucking super sleuth. And so I found out she didn't even have a Facebook or anything that I could find, but I just found out what she looked like. And and she was actually pretty. And I just thought, dude, imagine if I text her. Imagine if she actually wanted to talk to me, right? After my grandpa um, giving me her number. And then I texted her and she's thinking like, oh, this is like Chad. Because he's probably talking to me. I was like, oh, he's real handsome just because, he's my grandfather. He's going to say that. That's like, oh, he's like real, he's getting his master's. He's doing real well and all this shit. So she's thinking like Chad is texting her, and then she goes on the fucking date and she sees me and I'm like bald and have acne and I'm overweight and I have like a negative canthal tilt and a big nose and fucking my ears are too low on my head. It's just like no girl is going to want that. I've experienced that my whole life just with girls not really just not even just not being interested, like clearly not wanting to talk to me at all, being uncomfortable with the fact that I'm even speaking with them. And so I'm like, dude, this is just not going to be good. And so I didn't want to deal with that. I didn't want to deal with, because I've even dealt with stuff like that before. I remember I went on a Tinder date when I was like 21, I think, 22. And I was still using pictures from when I hadn't gone bald, which was only like a year prior, so I felt like it was fair. In my mind, I started coping, and I was like, well, they're only a year old pictures. It's not that crazy. And it's like, yeah, but there's a big change here, you know? And so I remember like, and it was of course like, I remember I used to use these really high quality pictures that my friend took when I was still making music. He was a photographer, and so he like just as a favor like took a bunch of pictures of me one night so I could use it as like music promotion. And so they were these like nice looking photos with like a professional camera, and I'd use those on my Tinder, and that really helped. And then, I go on this date with this girl, and she walks in, and I could literally see her face just like drop, like it was like the Bible, like her countenance fell. I could just see her face just like completely, I could see the oh fuck look on her face, and I butchered that whole date. And it was weird too. She thought I was like a rich kid because I didn't realize how nice of a restaurant it was. And it would have been romantic if I was Chad, because it was like a snowstorm and we were the only ones in there. And yeah, I remember I ordered French onion soup because that is like my favorite soup to order. But the problem with that, if you don't know what French onion soup is, it's like it's got melted cheese all over the top of it. And so it was like hard to eat. And I remember at one point I like laughed nervously while eating the soup and like spit soup up onto the table. Dude, it's just like so over. I remember one time I went out to lunch with a female coworker, and it was like she clearly was making it as like we were just being friends, Like she was clearly showing me that she wasn't interested, and honestly I wasn't even really interested in her. I kind of found her gross. She'd gotten like 5 abortions, but I thought she was really funny and she was fun to talk to, so I was like I just want to like hang out with her a little bit. But I wouldn't fuck a girl with 5 abortions. Like, that pussy's fucking haunted at that point. Like, I would not fucking do that. It would just gross me out. And so, but like, I remember I went out with her for lunch, and I was so nervous my hands were shaking and I couldn't eat the soup that came out before the meal. And I was just like, oh, I drank a lot of caffeine. And it was a good thing she was a drug addict, because she was like, oh, my hands are shaking too. And I was like, oh yeah, same reasons. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, this girl though. Like that Tinder date, like I could just tell that she wasn't into me. And and she knew what I looked like, roughly from my pictures. So I can't imagine what this girl would feel like not knowing what I look like at all. And so, I didn't want to text her because of that, but also I didn't want to make an obvious excuse for my grandfather and be like, "Oh, I was busy," because then it's like he's gonna think I'm gay, or like he's just gonna be like weirded out, or he's gonna keep trying maybe, you know. And I don't know, I didn't want to do that, and I don't like kind of. They have this image of me; they think I'm normal, so I don't want to like ruin that too much, by being like, "Oh, he's not even trying. I wonder why that is," and then they start to figure it out. And so it was like on one hand I wanted to text her, on the other hand I didn't. And also I was kind of just curious. I thought, it's not going to hurt anything. I might as well. And I'm such a fucking coper. Like, even though it's been nothing but failures my whole life. It's just like I always start to get a little bit of hope, and I go, "Oh, maybe things are different now. Maybe things are different. Maybe things are different down here. It's a small town." It's not. And really, it's a lot of this sort of hope that I have is because of that one-itis I was talking about. I mean, if I released a video about that one-itis, then it's about her, but that I'm talking about. But if I didn't, I had this big one-itis who was a girl who I'm still pretty convinced was into me. We didn't end up dating. She had a boyfriend, but we like flirted a lot, and she told me she would date me. One time I asked her, I was like, "If you weren't dating your boyfriend, would you date me?" And she said she would, and she sounded sincere. And I remember she kissed me one time, not like made out, but just like a peck on the lips, but still she initiated that, and there were enough signs to where I look back and I'm like, I think she might have been kind of into me. And because of that, it was almost like a curse, because now I'm forever coping with that and going, well, that girl was into me, so maybe the fucking blue pillars are actually right, and it is just my attitude, And so, I have seen ugly guys with attractive girls, so, and I know that's a common cope, but I fall for it sometimes, and I go like, maybe it is actually just my attitude this whole time, why girls are automatically not wanting to talk to me and actively trying not to talk to me as soon as they see me. It's just my fucking personality, of course. Even though like I'll see guys treat girls like shit, be socially awkward, be assholes, like be way worse than I am in any regard, but they're good looking, so they get a pass, Guys who don't have nearly as much as me, who are like don't have a fucking job, don't have a house. Like I've literally seen guys who like are actually homeless, who don't have a job, who are just completely just complete bums, who end up getting girls because they're decent looking, And so, but then I'll still be like, "Oh, maybe it's just my personality." And so I thought, it can't hurt anything. Maybe something will come of it. And so I'm sitting there at work and I'm thinking about texting her. And I even planned, I was like, I'm going to tell her I'm not looking for a relationship, because I feel like that kind of, in a way, that makes it sound like it's an option for me. It's like a psychological trick where it's like, I'm actually not interested, but I wouldn't mind getting to know you, And I also feel like that would disarm, because if she's thinking, oh, because my grandpa's literally asking, "Are you married?" She's thinking, "Oh, this guy's going to want to get fucking married. I don't even know this guy. What the fuck?" If I said that, it might disarm that sort of pressure and just be like, "Oh, like I'll get to know you." And also it is the truth, where I do miss hanging out with a girl like that one-itis. I'd miss hanging out with her, and it'd be nice to hang out with a girl again. And so, but I actually am not really looking for a relationship, just because I'm so defeated and I have no time. So it's like I just don't even want to try to hope for it. So it is the truth too. Like I'd be willing to get to know her, but I'm not really looking for anything in particular. Like there's no pressure or anything, but I decided, I was like, okay, I guess I'll text her. Maybe something will come of it. Maybe things are different now, and I'll just tell her that. And then I texted her and she didn't text me back. And as soon as I texted her, I was like, what the fuck did I do that for? Like, like, am I retarded? Like, this actually like pretty hot girl gets a text from some random fucking guy whose grandfather she probably didn't even give me a real number. as soon as I got her number and I saved it, because I looked up her number on Google to see if like it was attached to a real name. So I needed to save it in my phone just to like be able to go back to it and get it quickly. And so I put her in my number as fake number because I'm like, it's probably not even real. And but yeah, I texted her, quote unquote her. I don't know if it was her real number. And she didn't text me back. And as soon as I sent it, I was like, what am I doing? Why did I do it? Of course she's not going to text me back. What the fuck am I thinking, you know? And it's weird how the unconscious works because I was so like, before texting her, I was settled on it. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I was like, she's probably going to text me back. And then I'll just say the whole like not looking for a relationship thing. And maybe we'll get to just be friends. Maybe it'll fizzle out, whatever. You know, maybe if we become friends, maybe something will grow. Or maybe we'll just text a few times back and forth and it'll fizzle out. There was like not even a thought of she's not going to respond. And then as soon as I sent the text, I was like, that's so fucking obvious. Why didn't I think of that? And it's because I caught it. I bought into the hype. I bought into the hype of being like, oh, maybe it's different down here. You know, my grandparents think I'm normal. So, you know, maybe somehow I've become normal just from coming down here. And then, you know, you get hit with reality again. And, yeah. So I'll just tell him that. I'll be like, yeah, she just didn't text me back. And I'll, you know, even try to, like, let him know, just like, dude, that's not how people do it now. You know, people don't just, like, get a random girl's phone number. They certainly don't ask if they're fucking married. Like, she's probably, like, 22 or 23. Like, no, she's not married. And so, I'll let him know that. And just, like, hopefully he fucking backs off because I don't want to fucking deal with this anymore. They have some other girl. They're like, oh, like this, you know, this lady at church. She asked about, you know, her daughter-in-law or whatever. She's your age. She's a teacher. You know, she's saying that you two should meet up. And I'm like, dude, this isn't like. What do you think this is? She's like, you know, I feel like with few exceptions, all women are kind of the same. Like they all just want Chad and they kind of just want to sleep around and have fun now, you know? Like they don't really give a fuck about like, oh, he has a stable job. And even so, like they'll just find Chad who has a stable job and makes more money than me, you know? So yeah, it's just like I'm tired of this matchmaking shit. You know, just leave it alone. I'll even try to say to him like, oh, you know, and also I was pretty busy just with school and everything. I just can't do it. And that'll give me 2 years to fucking stave off any more matchmaking, hopefully, just being like, oh, I don't have the time. And yeah, you know, I just need to stop trying completely. I need to like completely lose interest in women. I've realized that and I'll probably make a video about this, but you know, like they always say, well, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You know, you'll regret not trying, but I've actually never regretted not trying something, and I don't think I've ever regretted giving up on anything either. Even with my fucking music ambitions from my early 20s and my late teens, I mean, I was dead set from like 13 and onward that I was going to be a fucking rapper and singer, as ridiculous as that sounds. I was never like a, you know, like 50 Cent or something, like rapping about money and shit. I was just like, think more like a Kid Cudi, like rapping about like my own, you know, my life and mental health and stuff like that. And, but I was like, that's going to be me. Like I was so certain. And then it wasn't working. And then I gave up. And I used to think, oh, like if I ever give up, I'll fucking probably like off myself. I can't imagine ever giving up on this. And then I gave up and I felt good. You know, and it's like same thing with girls. Like I always regret trying because every time I'm let down. I never regret the times where I'm like, it's not going to work, don't try, and then I don't try. I feel stronger after doing that. I feel more like myself. I feel right. And it's because I am right in those moments because it doesn't ever work. So it's like I'm not living in a delusion and then I recognize it and it feels good. And so I just need to completely give up hope, but it's so hard to. I always end up meeting some girl and being enamored with her and going like, oh, maybe I'm normal now. Like maybe I could manage to be normal. Maybe I can manage to, you know, attract her. And a lot of the problem, honestly, is probably this fantasizing I do. These, these daydreams I have about being successful, about being like rich and famous. Because I always like to daydream about them and think like, okay, this would be like if I made different decisions, maybe this could have happened. And I think it's that mentality maybe that can fuel these delusions where I go, oh, like maybe this girl could be into me. And I just need to start thinking more realistically, even when I'm daydreaming. Like, don't daydream. If I want to have a delusion of grandeur, like daydream about wild success, I need to do it about someone else, like a different character. It can't be me because, I think that might fuel these feelings of like, oh, if I only made different decisions, then I'd have what I want. And I need to stop trying. I just need to give up because I'm tired of wasting my time. I'm tired of wasting my life. I'm tired of being let down. And I just want to like move on. I just want to move on to a point where I'm not worried about it anymore and I can just be like a hermit living in like a fucking cabin in the woods. And my family that lives down here, they'd be like, "Oh, like no one's seen Marcus in years. He lives out in this, plot of land. If you drive by at a certain time at night, you can see a light from the cabin." Like, I just want to be like a fucking mythical creature hermit that haunts the town that I live in. That rumors are spread about him. Like, who is he? What did he never leaves? He never leaves his little cabin. That's like what my destiny is. But even that, like no one would actually care. Like no one would even notice. No one would even notice if I did that I lived there. I would just be forgotten. I'm like forgotten. If you've ever played Elder Scrolls, you have like the Gray Fox where he puts on the mask and then like history forgets him and no one remembers his face. That's essentially me. Like everybody always forgets me. It's really like that's one of the things that makes me feel like maybe it's not looks where even anonymous things like in part of school, because all my school's online, is we'll post in these like forums um like that are used by all the students, and my posts won't get responses and other people's will, and that's completely, no one knows what I look like. And it's like even even as an adult, I'd be in like let's say I was in when I was doing MMA, we were gonna do some sort of like team exercise. I'd get picked last, even if people didn't know who I was. If I was new, and there were other new people, I would just get picked last, and it was a bunch of guys. So it wasn't even. Well, I was gonna say it wasn't even an attraction thing, but I think that plays a role with guys too. It's like, it's not a sexual attraction, but it's like you recognize this guy's chat or this guy's a sub five, and you don't want sub fives on your team. So. But it's like everything. I just am constantly forgotten about, left behind. No one fucking cares. You know. Even like in my this one female streamer that I simp for. Not that I send her any, well, I send her some money. If I have like a super chat I think is funny and that her and the chat will like, I will like send $5. But I don't send like exorbitant amounts of money. But I watch her streams. And even in that chat, it's like they all know each other, and I've been there as long as everyone else and chat as much as everyone else. And then like they'll do like some sort of group thing, and then no one knows who I am. It's like, and then I had another, it'll be the same thing with like I was in this one YouTuber I watch. I'll be in his chat when he does Twitch streams, and it's the same thing. Like everyone in the chat knows each other, and I've been there longer than a lot of them, and no one knows who I am. And so it's like some sort of curse I have, where it's like I'm just completely insignificant and no one wants me around. But then I'm also expected to like be normal, and then people are like, "Why are you not normal?" I'm like, "You tell me. I don't fucking know." I've always wanted someone to tell me. I was like, just give me like one cruel bitch who not only rejects me, but just fucking tells me straight up, like, this is why you're a fucking loser. Why did you ever think that you could date me? Like, I had one girl one time, I need to get to bed soon, so I'll try to wrap this up. But I had one girl one time when I was in high school who I thought that she might like me, but she was just leading me on literally to make fun of me on behalf of her friend who didn't like me. And at the end, she was like, "You're so fucking weird." Like once I asked her out or something, she was like, I haven't meant anything I've said. I've only been doing this to make fun of." Like all she was just going full mask off, and she was like, "You're so fucking weird. Like you say all this weird shit." And I was super upset, but I was also like partially grateful because I was like, this is the closest someone's ever gotten to just telling me like the truth, you know? But even then it wasn't really the truth. She was like twisting my words. I remember one thing she said. She was like, "You were telling me when your mom was on her period. That's really weird." And I was like, "I was telling you my mom was being a bitch. I think she's on her period or something." You know, it was just an insult. It was like a sexist dig. It wasn't like literally saying my mom's on her period. Yeah, that'd be weird. So it was like she was twisting my words like that though to make me sound worse than I was. But I was like, this is as close as anyone's ever gotten to just telling me what the fuck is up, you know? But then people always expect me to be normal. And I'm like I said, it's like you tell me why I'm not normal. Is it looks? Is it just some sort of like pheromone? Because I've read something online before where it's like people can subconsciously smell another person's immune system and they'll be attracted to someone with a good immune system. And I'm like, is it like a subconscious scent I give off? Like, do I have a bad immune system? Is it just some sort of curse? I don't fucking know. But regardless, I'm sick of dealing with it and I'm sick of trying. And I'm about at the point where I just want to completely give up. But it's hard because, like I said, I always hope. I always find some girl and I get interested in her and I start daydreaming about us starting to date. And I go, maybe that, maybe that could happen because like the daydream will be like logical at least. Maybe we would hit it off and maybe something would happen. And it's like, and it's also such an emotional drive. I've never been able to like keep it hidden when I like a girl. Even if I think I am, people will always pick up on it. And so it's just such like a compelling emotion that it's hard to hide and it's hard to suppress. But I wish that I just like I just want to get to the point where I don't even feel it anymore and I don't care, you know, and I just like can live my own life. But it's just so depressing sometimes being like, is this it? Is this really it? Even things I like, writing and everything, I'll think like, what am I even doing this for? Like, is this really all there is to life? I'll see someone in a relationship or with kids and I'll just be like, man, I wish I was them. Even like today I drove past the downtown area before coming up here and there's all, just to see like the bars and everything. And all these people are at the bars and everything. And I'm just going, like, that's the spot. Like, that's where people are. Like, that's where anyone who's anyone right now, all the normies, that's where they are. And I've never been there. The only times I've ever been in spaces like that are those high school parties I literally had to fucking sneak into because no one would invite me. And it's like there's whole group, like the normies all had this whole ecosystem, this whole world that I'm just completely not allowed in. And it just sucks, and it feels like my life is a waste. It's like, I can't believe that out of the lottery, like my one chance to be a human being, this is what I pulled. Like so close but so far. Because I guess I could have grown up in fucking North Korea or something, but there's like and I'm not gonna say it's worse my situation now. I'd rather have my situation now than something like that, but there is something to it of it being like so close to really winning the lottery and like having a normal life where I grow up in America and I like always have food on my table and shit like that. At least mostly always had food on my table. But then I just can't hack it as a normal person. It sucks. But yeah, anyway, I've got to get to bed. Hopefully I'll actually get some sleep tonight and I'll get my McDonald's breakfast tomorrow and I'll just slop out all day tomorrow and just, just keep... I kind of regret moving down here, honestly. Because at least when I lived in Buffalo and I was a sub-5 there and a loser, at least it was kind of anonymous and my grandparents could just assume like, oh, he's out partying, he's out dating girls. Now it's like they and like their family who I'm getting to know now because it's technically my step grandfather, so I'm not even really related to a lot of his side of the family. And so I don't really know them that well, but I'm getting to know them now that I moved down here, and they all expect me to be like a normal part of everything. And now it's like I have expectations to be normal, and I can't meet them. And I kind of miss it being more anonymous in Buffalo. And I sort of knew that would happen if I came down here and I failed to establish, like a normal life, but I thought I had a shot, and it's just looking like it's going to be the same as it's always been, except I'm going to disappoint people now, and my grandparents are going to have to know, they're going to have to know the truth that their grandson is a fucking loser, and, that's going to be that, but, anyway, that's probably about it for this one.